One of the importance, or I would say usefulness of microeconomics is it helps us understand international trade, or in other words, foreign trades and public finance policies. Yes, let us understand this importance or usefulness of microeconomics in a greater detail. Microeconomics is useful in international trade, or I would say foreign trade. Before knowing how it helps us, let us understand what is international trade or foreign trade is. A trade or an exchange, or in simple word, buying and selling between two countries is called as international trade or foreign trade. Now, a country which sells the product to other country becomes exporter. A country which buys the product from other country becomes importer. So, international trade or foreign trade is also known as imports and exports as well. Now, microeconomics helps us at various features of foreign trade. With the help of microeconomics, we can highlight various features of foreign trades in a greater detail. Like, microeconomics helps us understand effects of tariff on end consumers. It helps us determine the price of exchange rate. Microeconomics helps us understand gains from international trade. Now let us look at this in a greater detail. Microeconomics, one of the important feature when it comes to international trade, it helps us understand effects of tariff on end consumer. Now what is tariff? Tariff is taxes paid at the time of import and exports. So the amount of taxes, how much it should be kept so that the end consumer will not get affected badly, will be decided and understood with the knowledge of microeconomics. I'll give a small understandable explanation. What happens in case of import tax is very high? So if the import tax on goods are very high for the country, so the goods coming in will be at a very costly rate. So there are the two situations arise. One, our already existing rates are less, so nobody will try to buy that product. Second, if the existing rates are less, but there is huge demand for the product because the country itself is not able to satisfy the demand of the country. So what will happen, since the import rate is very high, the taxation is very high, so the price at which the product will come will be at a higher price. So overall price of the product will increase. So consumer will have to pay more. So how much the effect of this taxation on end consumer has to be decided by government. That is called as tariff policies. And in order to understand and make overall benefit of the society, the microeconomics helps at a greater level in case of fixing or identifying effects of tariff on end consumers. Microeconomics also helps us understand the determination of exchange rate. Now what is exchange rate? When two countries have a trade, so one country exports to other country. So when they have trade, how do they exchange the money? Will they exchange in rupees, which is an Indian currency? Or will they exchange in dollar, which is US currency? Or some other country? So how it is decided that what kind of exchange rate will be used? For certain countries, their government and central banks decide to fix exchange rates with specific countries. In certain countries, this exchange rate is very dynamic. The demand and supply forces for that country decides the exchange rate. So what is the exchange rate will be studied with the knowledge of demand and supply forces. Again, that is the effect of microeconomics. So microeconomics helps us understand the price determination of exchange rate in international trade. Another advantage of microeconomics when it comes to international trade or foreign trade is it helps us identify the gains arrived through international trade. Now, what happens? There are various types of gains you can identify that a firm or individual supplier or importer gains out of this international trade. So, if we unnecessarily put higher taxes on export, so automatically the gains for the exporters will be very less. So, automatically the tendency of sending the export will be less. So, what kind of taxation policies the government should put so that the gains from international trade to the importer or exporter is achieved has been decided with the knowledge of microeconomics. So, in a nutshell, microeconomics is useful or its importance is immense when it comes to foreign trade or international trade. Microeconomics helps us handle various aspects of international trade or foreign trade. Like it helps us identifying the effects of tariff on end consumer, helps us price determination of exchange rate, right? It also helps us identify gains from import and exports or international trade. Another importance or I would say usefulness of microeconomics is to identify public finance policies. Now, what is public finance policies? A lot of financial decisions are taken by government and allied agencies which affects directly the end consumer. So let us talk about government. Government charges various taxes. They can be broadly categorized into two areas like direct taxes and indirect taxes. What are direct taxes? The taxes which are paid to the government directly by the end consumer to the government. Income tax, wealth tax, property tax, tariffs are direct taxes which are directly applied to the end consumer. What are indirect taxes? The taxes which are paid to the government indirectly, like GST, goods and service taxes, where an end consumer pays tax to not to the government but the immediate seller. Then the immediate seller pays the GST to the next wholesaler. The wholesaler will pay GST to the manufacturer, and manufacturer will end up paying to government. So the tax paid in the form of GST is received to government but in an indirect fashion. That is indirect taxes, right? So all those taxation policies, how they affect the end consumer has been studied with the knowledge of microeconomics. Higher the taxation, lesser will be the disposable income, less money will circulate. But collection to the government will be relatively high. But since the overall circulation of money is less, so overall economy's growth will be less. So lesser the taxation, higher will be the disposable income. So higher will be the money rotation, but relatively less will be the government's income. But overall turnover or the momentum in the economy will be high. So what is the best balance for the overall economy has been decided with the knowledge of public finance policies. For that, microeconomics plays a great role. Microeconomics helps us identify what affects those public finance policies like taxations, direct taxes and indirect taxes affects the end consumer, and allied related decision makings will be very easy with the knowledge of microeconomics.